Lord, help me say what I need to say in Jesus' name. Okay, so good morning. It's Sunday, and everything is still kind of quiet in the house, so I thought I'd get on here and try to make a video really quick. I have been thinking a lot more about kind of the stuff that I said in the last video about once saved, always saved. And I've made like 5 videos on the topic, but I felt like particularly the last one that, I have not really, and I guess every person that is on the once saved, always saved is not a thing bandwagon. We're not particularly focused on giving people any type of solutions besides this is trash, don't follow it. So I've kind of been thinking about like, okay, so if you don't believe that once saved, always saved is a thing, what are these people supposed to do? And how are they supposed to conduct themselves? How do you conduct yourself as a non-believer of this? And so I've been sort of thinking of different things, but the main thing is that just as a disclaimer, it's not that necessarily that once saved, always saved in and of itself is a terrible idea. It's just that it is not a good solution. It's not the best solution to a problem, a spiritual issue. Just like I was saying in the previous video about, the solution to hearing voices being hopped up on all types of medication that causes you to sort of be numb. So like now that problem is solved. It's like the way that it goes about solving the problem is just not ideal. Not that Jesus' sacrifice isn't enough or, all of that stuff. It's not that. It's what solution would you give to a human who has certain tendencies? It's like, we're not going to abolish the police because there's a crime problem. I would hope that's not what you think needs to be done. And you should be able to look around you. Well, you should be able to research local news wherever they're not reporting and find out how well that worked out, since they're not really talking about it anymore. But police is still defunded in a lot of these places. It's not like they came to their senses and went back, and it's not like people like started living better after that happened, and so you don't hear about it anymore. So yeah, it's more like that. It's like you need a solution that makes sense for human beings to live together in society. You can't just come up with something, because while we have our sin nature, you can't just go around letting people steal things as long as it's under $1,000 and all this stuff. Like, that's not going to bring the peace to the world. So yeah, so I've been thinking like, okay, so how, like, for example, how does one tackle this issue? And I'm actually sort of the prime candidate for a once saved, always saved type of theology, because, I think any person that has any type of like abandonment issue or just an insecurity in general from whatever happened or whatever your life has been like, and you feel like, you a trust exercise is just not going to be one of the things you ever do. Like, you're probably a prime candidate for the once saved, always saved. And you could say maybe all the people who say that that's not a thing are all the people who have trust issues, but I don't think that that is necessarily the case. But it could be like that would be funny. It would be funny, and also in that case, it's like your trust issue. People are trying to help you because the people with trust issues can see the flaws in the whatever. And everybody's going around like, yay, this is going to be great. And you're like looking at all the exits. You're like looking at all the squirrely people. Like, I think this is going to like turn out bad, but okay. so, so yeah, how I think about it, I actually do have to sort of give myself a pep talk, and it could be the Holy Spirit, and I don't know that. And you sort of remind yourself of not like God will never do that. He's like this. This is his attributes. I mean, there's a little bit of that, but you're really looking at the promises and like what he has sort of legally um, agreed to do. And yes, Jesus dying on the cross for your sin is part of that. And yes, you being sealed, for the day of redemption is part of that. Um, but that's something that you have to constantly, not constantly, but that's something that when things happen, when things go down, when things arise, when you just have amnesia, you have to remind yourself of. You have to go back to the word. You have to encourage yourself. Like having another person like tell you, like, don't worry about it is not the same as that. It's just not. And you might be in trouble with God for believing Joe Blow over his own word. So, it's very nuanced because if you get lost in the weeds and you think the point is to sort of believe, like you're just like, okay, I have to believe, like every single thing that you do is information. I keep saying this, but it's true. Like, and you just really need to understand that. Like, this isn't a religion in almost any sense, but especially that. It's like this isn't about like there's certain things, yeah, that you can do them sort of rote and have that count as something good. But that's like in regards to like, I don't know. It's like when you've got scriptures on your mirror and all this stuff, like if that's something that you feel like you need to do, God can honor things. Like it's almost like nothing I say has a written rule to it. Like there's nothing anybody can tell you that is like just a rule, except for the things that are like in the word and specifically laid out. But even that, you might not know exactly what that means. Just like how God said, no one can see my face and live, but then all of the elders, sort of snuck up the mountain or the side of the mountain and saw God and then didn't die. Like, there's almost nothing that because that's not what we're looking for. That's not what God is looking for. The things that humans do are things that we do until we run it into the ground, and then God has to say something about it. It's never like, you did that thing. Like, it's just the things that we do that are like blatantly bad. It's never just like a point, a half a point here and this and that. It's always like way, way off into the weeds. Like those are the type of mistakes that we make, and those are the type of things that like and like don't be worried about the mistakes, like for that very reason, especially since if you're saved and, whatever, like Jesus died, it's done, like your sins are, like, everyone believes that. But again, yes, there are things that can get you just completely, things that can discount you or disqualify you, like unforgiveness and things like that. But even that, I really do believe, I don't think that it's like, oh, there's one person you left out, there's one person you forgot. It is a matter of really, really searching your heart. And you might think that you have or you might think that you've forgiven people when really you've just hardened your heart, or you're bitter towards them and you just don't bring it up anymore. Like, there's all of these things going on in your heart. And I think maybe that's probably the main gripe with the once saved, always saved, because what it causes you to do when you feel that thing inside that's like, am I really saved? That could be that could be your conscience. Yeah, that could be your spirit. That could be God prompting you. You could be in a church that is just completely not based in anything biblical. You could be, maybe you got saved when you were 12 and someone told you that that's fine and you don't need to do anything else. Like, there's all of these situations that people are in that the once saved, always saved critics are thinking about. We're not just thinking about, like, oh, this person feels bad and they're saying this thing and I bless their heart, like I want to encourage them. It's like there's all of these genuine, real scenarios where that could really be an inner sign of something. And so I forgot why I was saying that. So that's why we say that. And again, like, just thinking about it in terms of, like, why would you tell somebody? Like, it would be like getting married and then you say, like, there's no divorce laws or whatever. And so, like, you get married and then you're like, so wait, there's nothing I can do to, like, so, like, we'll always be married no matter what. And then you're like, yeah. And that person's like, so no matter what I do, we'll still be married. And you're like, yeah. And they're like, so, like, after the third time, they feel like they have to, like, really ask you that question to make sure, like I'm getting skeptical now. I'm like, I'm worried after that. Like, wouldn't you be? Like, so again, listen to yourself. Like, yeah, maybe you're insecure and you're feeling like, and you never had a situation where someone makes a covenant with you and they always have to be whatever, and so you're just blown away that you'll never be abandoned. The likelihood that someone is meaning that in a sincere way of, like, oh, this is great, now I can relax and just have peace and we can just love each other. I mean, the likelihood of that is low. Like, I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure that's 25% of all those people. But for everybody else who is saying, like, that means I can do anything and there won't be any repercussion, it's like, yep, that's what that means. You're bracing yourself because it sounds like something bad is happening. And then also, just the all of the nuance, all of the thing, the unforgiveness, and all of these things that are in people's hearts that God is going to check and evaluate. And this is going to decide whether we're going to be with God, whether we're going to get raptured specifically. Because once the rapture happens, that's really, like, it's going to change um, the qualifications, because The rapture is going to be for people whose hearts are in a certain place, something that you can't really fake, something that he's going to be able to um, examine. And so, um, putting a once saved, always saved gravy over your whole situation is just going to ensure that you cannot, like, that you're not searching your heart at all. You're busy, you're worried about all this different stuff, you're not focused on, like, God, you're not watching. So he's going to come like a thief in the night because you're like, oh, well, I'm saved, so it's fine. Like, um, so all, to me, and I get like the most of the time that the people who are watching the same channels that I'm watching are probably saved. Like, if you're watching channels about Revelation 12 signs in the sky and the end times and all of the events and whatever, and you're also at the same time wondering if you're saved, okay, yeah, you're probably saved. But because your very actions indicate that you probably are. But at the same time, it's such a scary, sort of venomous snake bite to tell someone that there's nothing you can do to lose your salvation, that I would just not even go there. I would just tell people to go and talk to God and ask God. And or also just go search the scriptures about the power of the blood of Christ, something like that. I wouldn't just flat out give a blanket statement like that you're saved and all the people that are telling you that aren't are heretics. It's like the people that have the assurance of being saved got it from doing a whole process, um like what I'm telling you right now, of just testing the word, testing to see if God is really this way, going through, a spiritual whatever, like I've been doing lately, and seeing God work personally in your life. I mean, that the whole question is an indication of just like not understanding or not knowing, like what's, like not even seeing a difference in the way that the world is when you're a Christian versus when you're not. Like, if you're just like, am I saved? Then, like, so, like, when you open the Bible, is it boring? Like, does God speak to you? Are you getting dreams? Are you seeing things very clearly that other people are just blindly stumbling in? Like, is there any um do you have any indication in your life that you are living differently than literally every other person in the world who is not a Christian at all, that you would make you ask that question? So, I think that, I would start there. And I think that, the once saved, always saved argument is really just between two groups of Christians that just want to make sure that you're okay. One group of Christians is like, wants to make you stop freaking out. And the other group of Christians is making you be like, well, hold on, do you need to freak out? Like, what's going on? So it's kind of coming from the same place. And it's really funny. Like, you would think that it's a different spirit because they're two different arguments, but it's really not. It's like having, a mom that thinks you ought to stop. You should, like, cut down, just not eat a second cookie, and then having an aunt that's like, "Girl, eat them cookies, girl." It's because they each had different life experiences, and they're each doing what they're each speaking to you in the same. It's the same love of a family, different approaches. So, I don't know. Maybe that's ultimately what everybody needs to remember, because people get really, a lot of religious stuff gets nasty, and But I mean, I feel it strongly. I feel it strongly enough to be like, no, 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 no. And the once saved, always saved people feel it strongly enough to be like, don't listen to any of them. Listen to me. I'm telling you. So it can get really gnarly out there, but I, can tell just from like the people that I'm listening to that they're not trying to do anything. It's like everybody's gotta you gotta follow your thing. You can't just there's too much emphasis on Christianity being uniform across all whatever. It's like we're all different. God has given us all different levels of conviction and this and that, and this person uh, is going to stumble if they get around this. This person isn't. It's like there's so much diversity with that, and yeah, you just have to like. It's not that big of a deal. It looks like it is, but you just go where it makes sense to you. And sometimes that's reliable and sometimes it isn't. But it's like that's why you got to know the spirit that's in you is right, so that you're not just out deceiving yourself and surrounding yourself with yes people who are just going to agree with your nonsense. So everyone has their own personal responsibility to evaluate themselves, which is biblical. Like it does say that to examine yourselves. And yeah, so I think that's what this once saved, always saved thing is about. I just particularly think that saying something, anything other than examine yourself to someone, unless you know them personally, like don't get on your channel and tell tens of thousands of people like they're saved and it's fine. Like you can tell the one person that you're like, look, this is the fruit I see in you. You're saved. You're fine. Not just blanket advice to every single person. So whatever. I hope that clears that up. Um, yeah. So I just wanted to give like a little addendum to my last video. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. It's what is today? The 9th? Or is it the 10th already? Oh, it's the 10th. Yes. All right. So clock's winding down. I mean, the next couple of weeks is it don't get no higher in terms of Rapture watch. I mean, this is the highest watch in the history of watches. Doesn't seem like that because, I mean, I don't know. If you're under a rock or whatever, under a raptured rock, then yeah, I guess it doesn't seem like that. But I just, this one is, I mean, to say it's different from the others is not to say it. It's not saying nearly enough. But yeah, I'm ready to go. I know that I'm ready to go, and I do not see anything beyond this next, probably next week. I don't want to say a day, but there is a day that has been. There is a date that has been in people's dreams a lot, but it's just been the day and not the month or the year or anything like that. And people have been like, well, what, the what? The 11th? It's not the 11th, but it's like the 11th of what? Of what? Like, so there's a day we're not quite a week away. We're about 10 days away. Or it's within like a 10-day window, let's say 10 to 14. I'm stretching it all the way out to the 23rd because that is the I forget what day the 23rd is. I know the Feast of Trumpets is like something like the 15th or the 17th. They're looking at the moon, and they're expecting that to be the Feast of Trumpets, which is the no one knows the day or the hour feast. So I'm stretching it all the way out to the 23rd, and I forgot why. But there was some Jewish feast reason. But I think it'll be before then. And like there's a monster hurricane that's merging into one big one. I mean, it's on the Atlantic coast. And I don't know, that's going to start destroying cities. I don't know, I don't know what's going to go on with that. There's earthquakes. Like when people talk about like rumors of war, um, there's wars and rumors of war. And I always was like, what the heck is a rumor of war? Are you in a war or are you not? But what really causes rumors of wars when your media isn't reporting anything to you. Then you have to just rely on. Then you just gotta like. I heard this was gonna happen. Oh, I heard Russia said this. Oh, I heard North Korea told Russia to shove it. It's like you can't like no one will tell you anything. Which is a huge red flag. The U.S. is doing all of these types of moves. They'll report it and then move on with something else. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's some, like they used to do all political things. It was just boring and no one cared, and so they would just kind of rattle off something. But it's like, okay, well, we care now because we're looking around and we can kind of see like everything's a hot mess. And then also you said something absolutely crazy. So like, is there anything more? It's like, no. Okay, well, cool. And then the temperatures making everything so warm this year, and like making the water so warm, and then it's like creating a monster hurricane. It's like, is God like, I'm like, well, first of all, I was like, okay, is God making a soup? Like, what's going on? Why is everything so hot? Why has it been like 100 degrees? It's still like, it just now starting to cool down because, like, I don't know, praise the Lord, we're getting some freaking rain. But all like the entire month of Texas, or the entire month of Texas, that's what I'm going to call it. The entire month of Texas was just what it sounds like. Just desolate, barren. It was like Arizona is on a regular in a regular summer. And Arizona was like hell, I guess. I don't know. A lot of people died. But yeah, so not surprisingly, there's a big giant monster hurricane happening. The signs in the sky are still. Now we're on to the dragon. Uh, like there's a comet in the whatever, and it's got a tail and it's sweeping, and then I guess that tail like got snapped off, or it got like shot off by another star or something. So now it's like, okay, wait, is that like the part where then Michael like is there war in heaven right now? Like, is that what we're watching? Like, we think it's just like stars doing stuff, and it's like, so it's speculation, but it's just like, oh, are we in it? But it looks like regular, or not even regular. It just looks. The stuff in the sky people are seeing like just crazy stuff. Um, which at first I was like, oh, this is probably like, I was thinking like, is it like some government conspiracy to make everything seem like, to like get us to normalized to this, like, you see two glowing orbs and then they just like vanish, or just like weird things. It's like, but I'm thinking, no, maybe that's God, and I don't think he's trying to normalize. He's just trying to like, what if he's just trying to get us prepared? Because like whatever happens is going to be sudden and huge and blatant. So, it's like, what way do you go about this? Like, how do you even start this process? Like, I don't know. It seems pretty wild, pretty wild, and yeah, I mean, I really can't really think beyond the date of like, well, what do you do if nothing happens? It's like, which I've said before, but I mean, I really just do not. It's not even like, oh, I don't see anything beyond the day. It's like, what do I need to do before? What needs to be done? Is there anything that I can do before this happens? Because it's just going to be like the rest of the world. It just, man, oh man. I really just don't see it not, because right now it's like it's lined up with not just what I feel in my spirit or the times, it's also the signs in the sky, and also what's left in Bible prophecy, and also Jewish feast day situations, um, and it's really strange how it could all sort of silently accumulate all of this meaning, like even this entire year, and it is just, it's not loud, but it's so overt. And I guess it's the nature of any other sort of rapture date thing, in terms of like, oh well, it's the year is I don't know, 2002, which is the same backwards and forwards, and like it's got all of the same vibes, but it's like if you really are into that type of thing where you're looking at the numbers and you're looking at the dates, and it's like it's been this long since Israel became a nation and all of these things, and you get kind of excited. It's like if you were to have that same energy towards the coming date, like you would be like, it would be overwhelming. So it's like if you have the ability to think that way, um like this coming day will make you like freak out and go out into the street and run out into the street. Like we should probably be running out into the street. We probably should, but I mean, how many of us are really going to do that? And that's what's sad. And that's what's sad about like just discouraging people from like there's really no real reason to discourage Christians from letting you know that the rapture is about to happen. There's just not enough. There's not enough things to preserve to not do that. It's just like you need to let them sound that alarm every single chance that it seems like there's an alarm happening, because the alternative is bleak. The alternative is bleak. Um, but yeah, so I don't know, and it's really funny because if this hurricane freaking hits that New York City, dude, and that New York City gets a tsunami, I do not even know what I'm going to do with myself. That prophecy is almost like it's like hearing a song and making you go back to a certain part of your life. That is such an old, uh, a long prophesied thing that it literally reminds me of a time in my life. That New York tsunami prophecy. So if that thing just like happens, dude, I don't even know. I don't even know, dude. I think at that point I would probably have to go out in the street, because like what? So, and there's always a thing like when stuff starts ramping up and then it sort of ebbs. It's like, okay, this isn't giving enough momentum for this to actually be the real day. So we'll see. I mean, this is going to be make or break in the next 10 to 15 days, or 10 to 13 days. If things back off in any type of way, because right now, like, there was just an earthquake in Morocco that killed like 2,000 people. So if things don't continue like doing that, then I would probably be like, oh, maybe it's not the day. And I'll be upset. Or I'll be so confused. I'll be like, I don't even know. It's just the Matrix. Like, I'll be so confused. But, so I think we'll know like within about 7 if things are going to like back off or not. And it has to be like this precise measure, because the dreams that people have been having about the rapture is like a normal day. So it's got to be amped up enough to where people can see things are going down, but not so much that there's not pockets of the world where people are just going about their regular day. So it's a really fine balance of it just being a normal day, just a normal average day, and then sudden destruction, something suddenly happening. So we're definitely very much in that season. We're more in that season than we were the previous time that I thought it was, and the previous time before that, the previous time before that. So, I mean, that AI thing happened this year. You do know that, right? Like, AI happened this year, which is just insane. It's such an insane development. Like, people don't really realize how insane that of a development that is. I heard this really interesting stuff about the birth rate and how there's a particular research place that is very mysterious, but they do projections every year of the population. I think it's the U.S. population, or I think they do it by country, but they projected for 2024 the U.S. population being like a quarter, or like a fraction of what it is now. And they don't really give any like explanation for what that projection is about. So it's very interesting. And they've been right basically every year. And then this last year, I think they put out a report for 2024, and it's like 70 million, 80 million, or something like that. And everybody's like, is that a typo? Like, what's making you say that? Like, and they don't really expound. It's just like this independent thing that's been around for a long time. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like the Dagler report or something like that. Or I don't know. I gave a stab at it, but I'm pretty sure there's a D and a G in it. Daigle? I think that is right. I think it's the Daigle report. Daggle, something. Yeah. So stuff like that. That makes you kind of go, you see the rats going the opposite direction you're going, that type of stuff. You're just like, maybe something is happening. So, and I don't know if the animals are still running around in circles. That was a thing. It was like, I think it was the sheep, particularly. The sheep were just forming circles and running and walking around in circles. Euphrates drying up, that's a big deal. That was a biblical prophecy. It's actually really bad. There's a lot of people who depend on the Euphrates for stuff, which I did not know. So, yeah, that's it. I've been reading a lot of Bible, been rereading a lot of stuff, so maybe I'll have a Bible study here in a little bit too. I'm sure you're very invested. And yeah, I'm gonna go and figure out something to do with my life until Jesus comes back. or until we're raptured out of here. All right.